The last time I ever watched pornography was long after I had found God, but as I opened up the tabs and I typed in, the website, and I'm on like the home page, everybody knows what I'm talking about. Oh, you're on the home page. The one thing I noticed, and it actually made me click out of the app, was the first name, like the first woman on the screen. Her first name was Jezebel. And if you don't know why that's significant, I encourage you to go research that. But really, I just wanted to use that as the hook, the opening, to talk about the fact that please do not look at sex like it's no big deal. Like it's something fun, like it's a recreational activity. When I was growing up, I lived in a giant neighborhood where there was pretty much all older kids. There was probably 30 or 40 kids that lived in my neighborhood, and I was one of the youngest ones. And obviously during the summer, it was super dope. We would play football and basketball and swim and do all this cool stuff together. But I was like 7, 8 years old hanging out with 16, 17, and 18-year-olds. The things that they were doing, it started to rub off on me. And combine that with also, as I got older, I started listening to stuff like the red pill type of content. And so I started social media when I was 16, and I was making that red pill-esque type of content. I looked at sex like it was something required for your masculinity, like you running up your body count was something that made you more of a man. And I know that sounds like insanely immature, and looking back at it, it obviously is. But that's just genuinely how I thought. Like I looked at someone like Dan Bilzerian, and I was like, that is the epitome of masculinity. And because of all that stuff, it took me a long time with walking with God to really fully start to understand how big of a deal sex actually was. That men and women should be actually very picky about who they do it with. You should prioritize not just giving your soul away. I know this is going to sound over spiritual for a lot of people, but I don't really care. I'm going to say it anyways. There's a reason the Bible says that when you have sex with someone, two become one flesh, right? Because when you have sex with somebody, you are bonding with them. Your souls intertwine. The idea of like having soul ties with someone, that's arguably even a biblical thing, and it comes through sex. I've even heard doctors talk about how women can actually store trauma in their cervix from the action of sex, like crazy stuff. But please understand, when I'm talking about sex, I'm not even just talking about the idea of you actually doing it with someone. It's anything that pertains to the idea of giving into lust, of falling into it. There's stats that say like 60% of men watch porn regularly and stuff. I'd be willing to bet it's closer to 90 to 95%, and especially in an age, in a culture where sex is literally pushed everywhere. It's everywhere in social media, everywhere in music. It's stuffed down your throat no matter where you go. And I was talking to my brother about this just last night. One of the things that was hardest for me to kick when I started walking with God was breaking a pornography addiction. I was shown pornography for the first time when I was 7 years old. By the time I was probably 10 or 11, I was using it most nights in order to fall asleep. There's nothing normal about it, and it's crazy how much it'll make you over-sexualize everything. And one of the mindsets that really started to make me and set me free from lust, obviously everything comes through Christ. I did not do any of that. I want to make that abundantly clear for you. You need Christ in order to do it. You absolutely do. One of the things I had to realize, and I had heard people say it before, is that Satan makes a counterfeit version of everything God ever made. God made sex, and that was a beautiful thing. Satan makes hookup culture, he makes cheating, he makes pornography. All of these things are that counterfeit version of what God made. And what you have to understand is the reason that Satan makes a counterfeit version of everything is because he's trying to get you to fall into lack. If you even look at the first mistake in the garden, right? Go back to Adam and Eve when they're walking in the garden. They have the abundance of everything. God says from every tree you may freely eat, and he's telling them all the different things that they can eat from. So they can eat from every tree, every bush, do anything in the garden that they want. Just don't eat from that one tree. What does the serpent do? He makes them focus on the one thing they cannot eat from. What is that? Focusing on the lack. That is the first thing that Satan is trying to get us to do. Why is that important? Why am I telling you that? Because the whole idea of Satan trying to get you to buy into a counterfeit version is to try and get you to go into lack. Think about it. When you fall into pornography, right, and you watch it and you relapse into afterwards, like after you bust, that's a crazy word, I'm sorry, but back to it. After those emotions, like those initial feelings fade, what do you feel? Lack. A lack of everything. You feel lack of peace, lack of clarity, you feel distance from God, so there's a lack of the presence of God. You have an abundance of guilt. It's all lack feelings. Satan always gives you the lack, the decreased version of everything. Even if you read the conversation in Genesis chapter 3 when Eve is actually talking with the serpent and she's about to eat the fruit and mess up everything, it says, and a desire to make one wise, right? So Satan tempted her with wisdom, but they were already in the presence of God, right? And so when we get knowledge from God, we don't call that just wisdom. What do we call that? There's a different word for it, revelation. So you had to step down a tier. What did she want? She wanted wisdom. She traded revelation for wisdom. We trade love for lust in our modern day culture. We trade holy, godly, healthy, like sex marriages for hookup culture. We constantly take the decrease. We constantly take the lack. And that is Satan's actual goal with it. I want to tie this all back in full circle. One of the things that really led me down the line initially, right, because I was talking about that Jezebel spirit, right, and I was talking about how when I loaded up the Pornhub and I saw that name and like, you know, that's how I opened the video. I want to tie this all back in for you. When I was 17, this is actually true story, by the way. This is the thing that made me go celibate. I was already addicted to pornography still at the time, right? And I was watching it all the time. So it had changed the type of women that I was hanging around. Like, I was just looking for the women that were the most attractive, and I did not care who they actually were or what spirits could have been in them. And it was my first probably encounter in this type of situation with a woman that probably had something in her. And it only took me one experience. My family had left for the weekend, so it was only me, and I invited her over to the crib. We're hitting it off, you know, and we're starting to get to it, and she's on top of me. And as we're kissing, she like pulls away and goes, "Oh, so you're Christian?" And I was, obviously, that's a weird question to ask in the middle of, like, when you're about to get to it, right? And obviously, this is at the time when I'm lukewarm, by the way. I don't want to make this sound like I was making Christian content and doing this. I wasn't. This is back still in my red pill days. I saw the cross as something to complete my outfits, not my life at the time. And she goes, "Oh, well, I'm atheist. I don't believe that there's a God." And then she immediately goes back to trying to kiss me on my neck. And I remember when she said it, she, like, looked, like, because I'm looking up at her, she looked down at me, bro, and it was like, keep in mind, this chick had, like, bright brown, borderline, like, hazel eyes, and they looked black. Please hear me. I know this sounds crazy, dude. It shook me, like, to my spirit looking back at it. Like, I had that, you ever had that full twitch all the way down your spine where it's like all the hairs on your back stand up? That's what I got. Instantly, like, it killed the mood. We did not do anything. And I'm just telling you this because there are spirits behind all of this stuff. When you look at that pornography, which, by the way, join my free Christian community down in the description. July 12th, I'm going to be opening back up another section inside my actual blueprint community. It's a 4-week blueprint to help you quit pornography and conquer lust and stuff. It's one of the things in there. But we limited it at 100 spots immediately because of just too many people. Like, literally within our first 48 hours, over 100 people joined, and we're already helping over 100 people quit. Be in the free community so you can talk with other Christians, you can start learning, and July 12th, when we open it back up, you can join. But I want you to be conscious of this stuff, one, so it doesn't inhibit your spiritual growth. If you look at the Bible, look at Solomon, look at David, the things that brings down the greatest men in the Bible, it's lust almost every single time. I want to try and make you aware of this stuff so you're conscious of it, so you stop feeding into it and you look to get out of it. You look to become spirit conscious, right? You look to see with your spiritual eyes first, including in the people that you hang around, including the stuff that you consume, the music that you consume. That's another thing too. We don't have a choice whether or not we get programmed. Every belief that we have comes from something, whether it's the word of God or the people around us or the music that we listen to. Everything is programming us. The only option we get, the only choice we get is what we get programmed by. So what are you going to get programmed by? You need to become spirit conscious of that and start being programmed by the things that are the spirit of God. Because when you go online and you listen to the dating coaches or you listen to the red pill people, they tell you that more degeneracy is going to be the solution to the problems of dating is getting so hard, or divorce is at 50%. No, it is actually the complete opposite of that is going to keep you out of all of it. The divorce rate, yeah, is like 50% for people. For religious couples, it's 4%. For people that pray over each other each day, it's less than 1%. That's basically a guarantee. You couldn't buy a stock that's a bigger hit than that, no matter where you're at, right? For some of the people watching this, right, you already had some experiences, and so you're at where you're at, but you can still get out of it and still live a great life. But preferably, especially if you're a virgin, right, and you're a young Christian man, and you're still in high school or something like that, you're gonna feel self-conscious about it because a lot of people are gonna look at you weird if you talk about it. A lot of people look at it like body count does make you a man, right? Let's just be honest, that's what they think. It's so much better because you're gonna be pair bonded, you're gonna become one flesh with only one person, especially if you find someone else who are their only person. You are bonded on a stronger level, on a spiritual level. And that's what all of the sexual stuff actually is. It is a spiritual thing. It's a physical manifestation of the spirits behind them. And I'm telling you right now, and I just want to leave you with this, the men that can't conquer their own lust, that can't control it, do not get the woman that they want. They do not get the life that they want. Please understand that. Christ-focused self-improvement is what I teach. I'm trying to upload on YouTube every single day, so subscribe for more. Inside the free community down in the description below that I told you to go join, there's also the first week is 100% free of the Quitting Pornography and Conquering Lust Guide, so you can go and join the community, and it's in there. You can have it. Obviously, July 12th, like I said, is when everything actually opens, but if you're in the free community, I'll let you know about that. But I want you to become spiritually conscious of this stuff. I want you to hop on Christ-focused self-improvement because we need to stop, as a society, we need to stop viewing sex in all realms like it's not a big deal. Because every time we view it as not a big deal, we fall for the counterfeit versions of everything that Satan made. See you in the next video.